Coming up on Look Today, we've got more on the water sharing plan between South Glens Falls and Moreau. I've got details. And Saratoga Arts prepares for first night in Saratoga Springs. More on that coming up. And the Adirondack Thunder hockey team visits the National Museum of Dance in Saratoga. We've got details. It's all ahead on Look Today. Welcome everyone, I'm Jay Hood Jackson and this is Look Today. On tonight's program, I sit down with Mark Westcott. He's a political consultant and he's here to talk about current events in Warren County. I also sit down with Diane Labruzzo. She's the artistic director for the Adirondack Theater Ballet, and we're joined by Haley West and Catherine Morris. They're two young dancers in the upcoming production of The Nutcracker. Plus we've got your weather for the Tri-North counties, but first, these headline stories. Well, in our lead story, after a water drought struck South Glens Falls over the summer, the village turned to Moreau for help, and a new water sharing contract was drawn between the two towns. Thankfully, due to South Glens Falls' water restriction plan, the village never needed to buy the water from Moreau. And we spoke to Mayor Joe Orlo of South Glens Falls.
The main concern was that there's no downtime to the residents. As a municipality and elected and hired employees of the community, our responsibility is to provide services. One of those important ones is water. And in the past, it had to be permission from the mayor to the DPW to connect with, and we wanted to have all that until it was going to be a seamless agreement, that the minute we know we needed it, Brian Hebert or people he directed would be able to pick up the phone and we'd have immediate water.
Now recently, South Glens Falls did discover a burst water pipe and had to yet again turn to Moreau for help. Now the transition was seamless, proving the system and the contract to be effective. Now we also spoke to Brian Hebert. He's a superintendent of public works for the village of South Glens Falls.
The master meter company that supplied it said they did have a problem with that meter. They're willing to sell the town of Moreau a new meter at half cost. I think it's around $2,700. So the town of Moreau is picking up that cost. And at the same time, we have a pit on Harrison Avenue with a 6-inch meter. At the present time, it doesn't have a backflow check valve on it, so we're picking up the cost of that. That'll be about $1,500 for that. So we'll install the backflow preventer, and town of Moreau will take care of the meter.
Great example of communities working together. In other news, Saratoga Arts is preparing for one of the country's oldest and largest first night celebrations. On Saturday, December 31st, a ton of people are going to gather in downtown Saratoga to enjoy a night of festivities and great live performances all throughout the city. Now, in preparation, the Arts Council is looking for up to 200 volunteers. We spoke to Alex Jones. She's the first night director.
In order to make this huge event happen, we need the help of about 200 volunteers. So that's you, if you're listening to this. Please sign up. You can find out information about it online, and then there are some training sessions that you can attend just so you're a little more comfortable in the role. But it's a fun time. You get to hang out with friends. You get tickets to the event for free. It's a tradition for many people to come out and help us put this on.
Now, we're media sponsors for first night, so we're going to have Alex on a number of times and keep you informed as all the preparations take place. Switching from news to weather, well, today saw more overcast skies, a lot of rain. Let's see how the rest of the week is shaping up. For a more detailed look at our weather, we're going to head to the Glens Falls Weather Center for a look at your first forecast. Here's a fun story. The Adirondack Thunder, that's a hockey team in Glens Falls, visited the National Museum of Dance in Saratoga Springs. You may be wondering why. Well, we spoke to Jessica Munson. She's a programming and outreach coordinator for the museum.
I think the highlights are kind of seeing the realization that dance and sports really are connected, that there's a connection between that athleticism and dance. Looking at the hockey section and seeing names that they recognize, seeing players that they recognize, and really having that light bulb turn on of like, wow, this is legit. I think they really got excited to come and take the movement class at that point.
It's a very interesting subject. And the current exhibit at the museum is all about linking athleticism to the art of dance. Now, it's not widely known that some of the most successful athletes also train in dancing. The exhibit explores the relationship between the athlete and the dancer and explains the importance of cross-training. Well, we spoke to Matt Broder. He's a defenseman for the Adirondack Thunder.
That was pretty interesting. You don't realize sometimes how much dance there could be in the sports. Boxing obviously is, I think, the most common you would think, because you heard Muhammad Ali said he was dancing on the ring and stuff. But looking at hockey and then baseball, obviously when you see the shortstop kind of throwing out the first base, it's kind of a dancing. They jump around and just like ballet dancer pretty much.
It was a little dark in the museum there, as you saw, so we're sorry about that. We also spoke to Cale McLean. He's the head coach and director of hockey operations for the Adirondack Thunder.
We came on an invite from the museum, and we're really excited to just learn more about the connection between athleticism and dance, and how it can also benefit us as athletes, on the ice, and see if we can make any gains in that direction. But more of all, it's just a process of discovery, and it's something exciting to do for us.
There's a lot more crossover between sports and dance than you would generally think. Up next, I sit down with Mark Westcott. He's a political consultant. He's here to talk about current events that are happening in Warren County. I also sit down with Diane Labruzzo. She's the artistic director for the Adirondack Ballet Theater. And we're joined by Haley West and Catherine Morris. They're two young dancers in the upcoming production of The Nutcracker. Great interview. But first, if you see news happening, you want to share a story idea, how about join us for an interview? Give us a call on the hotline. The number is 798-8000. Well, that's all the time we have for this edition of Look Today. A couple of lookouts tonight. Boy, a lot of activities are coming up. Just so you can try to plan ahead, we've got Festival of Trees that's coming up in Glens Falls. We've got the Victorian Walk that's going to be happening in Saratoga. All of this is this week, later this week, and we will be reminding you. And the other lookout, every once in a while I do an interview that just hits home. And when Diane from the Adirondack Ballet Theater brought in those two young dancers today, it was just a delight to see that sort of enthusiasm and that wonder in a young person. They're being exposed to the world of dance, and as I mentioned, I think in the interview, or I certainly want to mention now, it'll stay with them their whole life. And I just think it's wonderful. It adds a richness to the community. All right, tonight on Look TV, it's a Saratoga City Council meeting. Don't forget, you can tune in tomorrow night for the stories that matter to you. Good night, everyone.